In this video, we are going to show how we can use the Pad 4 template to automatically adjust based off of a reference feature that defines the extents of our pad. So in this project, we've got our road design already in, the road alignments there. We also have a set of reference features that we'd like to use. So these reference features on this are just in my topo terrain file. So I've got one reference feature that I'm going to use that's called crane pad extents, and I've got another one that's called laydown extents. So in our road design, we are going to jump into the templates, and we are going to find the Pad 4 component that we'd like to use. So that's either going to be on the eLibrary, or in this case I already have it somewhere else on my computer, so I'm going to navigate to it there. So I've merged that in so it gets added to the list of existing templates that I have. So this component that I'd like to use, well, it's on the right side of the road where I'd like to apply it, but it's a left component. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to hit copy, I'm going to expand the template that I'd like to use it on, and I want to add it in just after my roadway component. So I'm going to click on that resource one right, and I'm going to paste that component in as a new component on the right side. Now, just like any other template component, we are going to change the dimensions to reflect what we'd like out of this. We'll double click that, and to start, I know I want my subbase thickness to be 0.3 meters deep, and in this case I don't want a second layer on top, so I don't need that top surfacing layer applied. I'm going to set that to be a 0. And then the thing that makes this component special is the pad width offset. So in this case, if I don't want that template component applied, I am going to, if there's no reference feature there to use, I'm going to set that default width to be 0. And that default width is measured from center line. So 0, it's not going to be applied. Then the feature, I'm going to define the feature that I want it to use for that outside geometry. So we'll click this, we'll click add. This feature that we want to use, as we initially discussed, lives in our topo surface terrain file. And we'll scroll down here to find what we'd like. So it's going to be our crane pad. And here we need to click the drop down so it's assigned. And there we are. Now my pad slope is set based off of that, and if we turn on our advanced parameters, we can see we're not applying the road super elevation or crown in addition to that. So we'll hit OK, and we'll see how this looks to start. And there we are. We can see that's doing what we'd like to do. Where it goes out, it looks for that feature edge, and away we go. Now, a couple things that we'd like to change here. I want my top layer to match up with the top layer of my road. So we can do that really quickly just by adjusting the connection. So we'll change our point, attachment point to this point here. So we can hover over it. We can see that's being called ST1. So point code ST1, and there we are. And we'll see that shifts up to be where we'd like it to be. Now, out here we've got a different surface that we'd like to use. So this laydown area, I just want that to be subgrade. I don't want any surfacing to be applied there. And there's this little spot here where the two are going to overlap. So in order to account for this, we're going to use a little trick. So we'll change some things around to account for where these two surfaces overlap. And we are going to take that. So just like we did before, copy, we want this to go on the outside of that component. And we want that surfacing layer to be 0, and we want that surfacing layer to be 0. So we can see some things are happening. We want to change the pad width offset. So just like before, if that feature doesn't exist, we don't want it to be applied. And we'll define a new feature to be the reference feature here. So instead of reference feature 1, we'll click add reference feature 2, and we're going to make that laydown extents feature. And then here we can see we have something going on where it's not quite behaving the way we'd expect. So we've got surface coming out from this, going back to that point there. And that is because we're using duplicate point codes for these two components that are currently the same. And we can quickly get around that by just going into the codes. And here we're going to change the naming convention. So instead of all these P's for pad, we're going to change it to L's. So there, we've changed that. We can see that fixes that issue that we had showing up. We'll hit OK. We'll hit OK. And voila, we've got this nice laydown area. And just because of the way we've got our shading set up, that shading is going to account for the laydown area for us as well. So that is using the pads for component. And of course, you can keep it just simple and kind of stop at the single component there if you'd like, but if you have a need to extend it to account for multiple features, we've got the workflow in there to account for that.